So the season 2 of Supergirl has got off to a very, very good start. It is way better than the season 1 stuff. This show is just really, really good. So episode 2 and episode 3 are pretty good in my opinion. And I just absolutely really am enjoying this show. So in episode 2, we have the continuation of Superman and Kara sort of teaming up and going around Metropolis and saving people's lives. Superman continues to be a really great mentor character for Supergirl. And his presence in the show is so good. Not only does Superman bring the mythology to Supergirl, but I also think he brings sort of that very good down to earth mentor type role. And I think Supergirl kind of needs that mentor role. Because I think Supergirl is the sort of character who looks to other people for the answers that she's seeking. And in this episode, she even says that I want to go off with Superman. But Superman doesn't dominate the entire show. It is very much a Supergirl show, and Superman's, yes, here, but he's not hindering her. Supergirl has doubts like we all do, but I think Superman's ideals and his presence is sort of trying to get Supergirl to be her own superhero, and not rely on Superman. Because, as we all know, Superman is, in the movies, Henry Cavill as Superman is always going to be the mainstream Superman. But the guy in Supergirl is only serving a mentor role. And whilst this guy is way better than Henry Cavill in the movies, for loads of different reasons, Henry Cavill still does a very good job in the role, but Supergirl is her own superhero, and this is her journey. And Superman is just one of the many people who are teaching her how to use her abilities and how to interact with the world around her. And there are some interesting developments between Martian Manhunter and Superman, which I really liked. I thought all of that was really good. And speaking of mentors, there was such a beautiful moment between Cat Grant and Kara. Their moments together was just absolutely beautiful and so well done. And it illustrated the real friendship that these two characters have with one another. So basically, for those of you who don't know, Cat Grant, the actress who is playing Cat Grant, didn't want to move to Vancouver, so she's been moved to a recurring guest star role. And she'll be basically weaving in and out of Supergirl throughout season 2. And in story, Cat Grant basically said that she isn't having enough challenges in her life, and she wants to go find a new thing to be into, a new challenge. And I thought that was really, really great, because it paralleled what Supergirl Kara was going through, with dealing with her own challenges of, having a new job, having her cousin, go away, and all of that stuff just molded into one. And not only does it bring the point home that Kara doesn't really do well with change, but it also illustrates the fact that change is inevitable. That people will go out and do things, and I think the way this season is looking is that Kara is going to really grow as not only a superhero, but also as a woman as well. I think you are going to see a very drastic change from what we saw in season 1. Because even in episode 3, Kara felt really, really grown up. And that's where we're gonna sort of get into now. Kara seemed really, really grown up in episode 3, and she was dealing with some very powerful things here. So, basically, the President of the United States has basically given full rights to American citizens. And this is all a bit of a metaphor for immigration. And Kara has to deal with a Daxamite who is basically who is basically believed to be attacking the president. And she has to deal with the prejudices of her own people. And the way she comes out of that, I felt was really, really grown up. And we get a little bit more with Mon-El this episode. He is revealed to be a Daxamite, not a Kryptonian. And, I thought he was really, really cool. But the best bit that I have to talk about is the last children of Mars. So we had the last children of Krypton, and now we have the last children of Mars. Martian Manhunter, Miss Martian, aka Martian I screwed that one up. So basically, Martian Manhunter finds the last daughter of Mars, aka Miss Martian. So Miss Martian is revealed to be in the Supergirl show now, and that's going to be very, very interesting. And we're starting to see a little bit more of alien culture on Earth. So very, very interesting stuff. Really, really great show. Super, super fun to watch. Hey guys, this is going to be the review for Gotham, episode 5 and 6. So, let's get started. So, these two episodes, were pretty good. Episode 5 was very relationship heavy, whereas, episode 6 was more driving the Mad Hatter plotline forward. So, for those people who ship, there were quite a lot of shipping going on this episode. The Bruce and Selena relationship continues to be one of the cutest couples I've ever seen on TV. The Bruce and Selena relationship is so nice to watch. in this on this show, and they just have such a great chemistry together, and their love just blossoms, and it's really nice. But also another relationship is developing, and that's between Riddler and the Penguin. Now, this was very, very surprising, and I didn't see it coming. But yeah, the show has decided to sort of put these two characters together, and I thought it was really, really cool, and it's developed in the in episode 6, where the Penguin is starting to have these feelings for the Riddler, and I thought it was a really, really cool and very unique idea for these two iconic characters. And we also get the return of Miss Kringle. Now, we don't know if she's necessarily Miss Kringle, or whether she's someone else. But we get the return of Miss Kringle, and it throws a dart in the Penguin and Riddler's relationship. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see where that goes. And then we have the Mad Hatter stuff. Now, I thought the Mad Hatter stuff was over, but they brought him back, and it was designed to basically test Jim Gordon and show him his true self. But I didn't think it worked out particularly very well, simply because all it did was really show Jim Gordon that the fact is he is a true hero. He is just faced with impossible odds, and that he needs someone like Batman to give him faith again. Because the problem is, the Mad Hatter character wasn't really showing anything as anything new. Like, we sort of knew that Jim Gordon was a rough and tumbled hero. We already knew that. And the show didn't give us anything else to go on. So that's the end of this review, and stay tuned for some more reviews. Okay, so this is going to be the review for Arrow episode 3 and episode 4. So in this episode, we get Oliver really exploring his role as a leader, and his role in both his team and as mayor are both called into question quite a lot in these two episodes. Oliver goes out to break John Diggle out of prison, and Oliver's been doing some very questionable things. And honestly, these two episodes were just a bit bland. The only really saving grace is Ragman. Because Ragman just has a very cool visual design to him. But the rest of these two episodes just really irritated me. sort of, Oliver is borderline being abusive and incompetent as a leader. John just wants to stay in prison. Felicity is beginning to tie the show down, I think. Wild Dog is just a douche, and Mr. Terrific is just irritating. And the Artemis character we're not getting anything out of, so all in all, these 2 episodes have just been a little bit bland. Not a lot of interesting elements are happening in the show, and I kind of am left a bit disappointed. And I'm just disappointed that I'm not enjoying the show like I used to. Because I used to absolutely love this show, and now it's just sort of like, eh. So yeah, I'm not really feeling this show at the moment. I'm hoping it'll pick up next episode and the episodes after that. So that's my very short review of Arrow. So yeah. I hate time travel. Right, so Legends of Tomorrow, season 2 to 3 is, yeah. Now, the problem is with time travel shows is that, the time travel can get a bit skewed and a little bit, like, okay, well, if you're doing this, then therefore that never happened. And you're going into time and destroying time as you go. And it just goes to show the relevancy of the Legends of Tomorrow TV show. To be honest, the Legends just aren't interesting. And I had this complaint even in season 1. The Legends are just, they're not interesting characters to follow. I would argue that the only interesting group of characters are White Canary and Rip Hunter. All of the rest of the characters aren't interesting. The reason why they're on this show is because they're not interesting. I mean, there's nothing about these characters that are remotely interesting. The Justice Society was really, really cool, but Smallville did it better. Yeah, I honestly think Smallville did the Justice Society really, really well. There was none of the characters I knew about. Like, where was Dr. Fate? Where was Hawkman? Where was Hawkgirl? None of these characters that they were presenting to me were characters that I knew about. It would have made more sense to have Justice Society members like Dr. Fate, because you could have tied that in with the Constantine show. And there was absolutely nothing of interest here. The Legion of Doom were cool. In actual fact, I really liked the development of the Legion of Doom. Citizen Steel, his origin is okay, but the Steel effects are awful. And they did not do the samurai story in episode 4 well. They essentially westernized the samurai society. And the problem is with this show is it's so goofy. And they're not really just going with it like Gotham is. Like, Gotham knows what it is now. Gotham knows that it's a goofy show. And it goes with it. All of its wacky ideas and really interesting concepts come from the fact that it's goofy. But it's goofy in a really dark way. Whereas Legends of Tomorrow is just goofy. Like, in episode 1, Sarah was having sex with a queen. But it was like, okay, how is this relevant to the story that you're trying to tell? How is going to, samurai Japan relevant to the story that you're trying to tell? Actually, no, I think it might be China. One of the ones. How is it relevant to the story you're trying to tell? I mean, the Barry Allen bit in episode 4 was really interesting. But everything else about the show is so irrelevant. I mean, over in Flash is getting flack for the fact that, he broke time. Well, what the hell are the Legends of Tomorrow doing? Because they're breaking time left and right. They've changed so much the time stream by just being in the time stream that it's just like, well, what are you there for? Yeah, I just think this show is not very good. It lacks that little bit more substance to it. Yeah, it's really not good.